Hello friends, this video on chemical coordination and integration part 8 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now, as I mentioned, that the pituitary gland has two parts, that is the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. Now we will first look at the hormones which are secreted by the anterior pituitary. We already discussed about the list of hormones like LH, FSH, etc. which are secreted by anterior pituitary. So now we will look at each of those hormones in detail and their functions in our body. So first we'll talk about the growth hormone. Now very simple and straightforward, as the name itself tells what it is that hormone which helps the cells to grow. So basically it sends that instruction to all the cells of the body that it is time for them to grow. So this is the hormone which actually helps you to grow from a small child to an adult. So this hormone is responsible for the overall growth of the body, and however, this hormone has to be present in the right amount. If too much of growth hormone is secreted, it can result in gigantism. What is this gigantism? That means oversized individuals. So there are some individuals who become oversized. I mean, normally if you look at human beings, all of them have their heights in a specific range, right? But you sometimes you see, which is not very common, little uncommon, that some people are too short, we call them dwarf, and some people are like too huge, so they are like giants. So those differences are due to the over secretion or very less secretion of the growth hormone. So over secretion will call gigantism, and low secretion causes dwarfism. So another very important point is that not only the growth hormone, every hormone present in our body should be present in the desirable amount. It should neither be in excess nor should it be less. So here you can just see how gigantism and dwarfism can take place due to over or low secretion of the growth hormone. The next hormone that we will talk about is prolactin. The word lactin, wherever it comes into picture, lactin is related to milk. You remember lactic acid which is present in milk. So anywhere we see the word lact, that is related to milk. So this prolactin hormone is the one which regulates the growth and development of the mammary glands. And mammary glands in females are responsible for the production of milk, and these glands become more active during the lactation period of a woman. So when she gives birth to a child, after that she breastfeeds the child, and that is when the mammary glands play a very important role. So this prolactin hormone actually helps the mammary glands to grow. So it does not directly produce milk, but it helps the mammary glands to grow so that the mammary glands in turn can produce milk. So it helps in the milk production in females, and especially during the lactation period. Now often this hormone prolactin is in short form is written as PRL, that is the short form of prolactin hormone. Next is the thyroid stimulating hormone, which is often written as TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. So what does this hormone do? This regulates the secretion from thyroid gland. So basically the secretion from the thyroid gland, what all hormones are secreted from the thyroid gland? There are many hormones like T3, T4, calcitonin. These are some of the hormones which are secreted by the thyroid gland. But when to secrete those hormones, that is decided by the pituitary gland. How? By secreting thyroid stimulating hormone. So whenever this hormone is secreted from anterior pituitary, the thyroid gland gets a signal that it is time to secrete the thyroid hormones, that is T3, T4, etc. So it will start secreting the thyroid hormone. So that is how it actually controls the secretion from the thyroid gland. Synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones, as I said. Next is the adrenocorticotrophic hormone, which is often written in short form as ACTH, that is adrenocorticotrophic hormone. So what does it do? It regulates the secretion from adrenal gland. That is why the name is similar to adreno. It starts with adreno because it is related to the adrenal gland. So basically, this hormone is going to control the adrenal gland. So if you see, all the hormones which are secreted by the pituitary gland, they control some other gland. For example, TSH controls the thyroid gland, prolactin controls the mammary gland, adrenocorticotropic controls the adrenal gland. So they all control some other gland and the secretion of hormones from that gland. So here also it will control the adrenal gland. Now what does the adrenal gland do? Now adrenal glands are located above the kidneys. So the pair of kidneys here, and these are the adrenal glands just above each kidney. So, and what do they secrete? These adrenal gland actually helps to secrete the adrenaline, noradrenaline enzyme hormones. So the secretion of those hormones from adrenal gland are controlled by the ACTH hormone. So synthesis and secretion of steroid hormones, glucocorticoids. So these are the ones which are secreted from the adrenal gland. Now we will talk about adrenal gland in detail, and that time we will see what are the hormones that are secreted from the adrenal gland. So this hormone also regulates the changes in body in response to any kind of stress, this adrenocorticotropic hormone. Next is the luteinizing hormone, which is often written in short form as LH, that is the luteinizing hormone. So let us see, what is this luteinizing hormone? Now this regulates the secretion from testes and ovaries. Now what are testes and ovaries? They are the male and female sex organs, but other than that also they also secrete some important hormones, specifically the male and female specific hormones, which actually govern the characteristics and behavior in a male and a female. So this luteinizing hormone will regulate the secretion from the testes and ovaries. So let us see what all does it regulate. So it basically it helps in the synthesis and secretion of androgens from testes in males. So when we talk about the males, in the male body, this LH acts on the Leydig cells of the testes. So now what happens is that this luteinizing hormone will actually act on the Leydig cells. Now what are the Leydig cells? These are the interstitial cells which are present. If you look at the internal structure of the testis, you can actually see that there are some tube-like cells, and just that which are known as the seminiferous tubules. Just beside them there are some interstitial cells which are called as the Leydig cells. So this luteinizing hormone will act on the Leydig cells of the testes, and this Leydig cells will produce androgen. The androgen which is produced in male is known as testosterone, and this testosterone governs all the male behavior in a person. For example, the appearance of beard, moustache, or the feeling of the process of the sexual processes, they are all governed by this hormone called testosterone. So this is an androgen. So androgens are those hormones which affect the sexual behavior. So in males it is testosterone, and in females it is some other hormone. So we will talk about the females now. Now what does this luteinizing hormone do in females? It induces ovulation in females. Now the question is, what is ovulation? Now the release of egg from the ovary is known as ovulation. So here if you see these two red colored structures which you see, they are the ovary, these are the fallopian tubes, and then you have the uterus here. So the eggs are released from the ovary. We have already studied about the process of reproduction in case of human beings, right? So by now you all know what is ovary and what is testis and how the process of reproduction takes place. So what happens is, when the egg is released from the ovary, that process is known as ovulation, and this process is regulated by this luteinizing hormone. Now you might ask how luteinizing hormone will control the process of ovulation, because luteinizing hormone is secreted by the anterior pituitary, which is located in our brain. So from brain, how can it control the release of egg from ovary? That's interesting. So what happens is this LH hormone actually acts on the theca cells present in ovaries. So there are some specialized cells present inside the ovary, and these luteinizing hormone acts on support those theca cells to produce androgens, and these theca cells produce androgens which get converted into the female hormones called estrogen. So estrogen is the female hormone. The way you have testosterone, which is the male hormone, similarly estrogen is the female hormone. So that is how estrogen production is controlled by the luteinizing hormone. Now let us look at the next hormone, that is the follicle stimulating hormone. Now follicle stimulating hormone, which is abbreviated as FSH, is very closely linked to the luteinizing hormone because both of them together serve almost similar purpose. So let us see what is this. It actually stimulates the growth and development of ovarian follicles in females. Now what are these follicles? So ovary we understood, but what are the follicles? Now the follicles are nothing but these are cyst kind of a structure or a sac-like structure in which the egg develops. So that is known as the follicle, which is also known as the Graafian follicle. So basically inside the ovary, the egg doesn't develop on its own. If this is the egg, it is surrounded by a cyst kind of a structure. So this structure is called the ovarian follicle. Now this follicle breaks to release the egg during the process of ovulation. So the follicle will break and the egg will be released. So that process is ovulation. Now what happens to the follicle after ovulation has taken place? Because the egg is released now, but what will happen to this broken follicle? The remains of this follicle forms a structure known as corpus luteum. So a structure called corpus luteum is formed from the remains of the Graafian follicle after ovulation. So that means we can say that this follicle stimulating hormone, what does it do? It develops, it helps to the ovarian follicles to grow and develop. After that ovulation happens, which is controlled by the luteinizing hormone. Then after that the formation of corpus luteum is again supported by the follicles. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.